Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Sri Chaitanya Manobishkam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Shwapadantikam. Vande Ham Sri Guru Sri Yutapada Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Shahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Shavadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Ladita Sri Visakanvitam Cha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesa Gopika Kantha Radha Kantha Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Stute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvya Evacha Patitanam Panebhyo Vaishnavyo Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangungam Hare Girim Yat Kripa Tamhang Vande Sri Gurun Dinathan Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishvara Hare Krishna. So, welcome to the new unit of our English Bhakti Sastri. So now we are in the unit 5, Sri Isopanisad. Yeah. So we begin new book today. Finally, yay, Hare Krishna. So, okay. I hope that everybody have read at least the introduction and also the invocation prayers of the Sri Isopanisad. So yeah, and I highly recommend that you may also read the Isopanisad Subodhini that compiled by Gauranga Darsan Prabhu. It's very helpful, very helpful. Yeah, it's actually in line with Srila Prabhupada's purport, but he summarizes, I would say like that, he summarizes and make us more easy to study the Isopanisad because he compiled in such a way, like in each point. So he, with such a structure, I would say, with such a structure to make us easier to study. Of course, Srila Prabhupada's purport is already clear enough, but I still recommend that if you get this book, Isopanisad Subodhini by Gauranga Darsan Prabhu, it will be very helpful. Hare Krishna. So, all right. Isopanisad, interesting that Upanishad, of course, many times we have heard that there are 108 Upanishads, 108 Upanishads, out of which actually there are 11 Upanishads which are prominent. There are 11 Upanishads which are prominent, mentioned in the Muktiko Upanishad. Yeah. And one of these 11 is the Sri Isopanisad. So I would like to ask you a question before we start further. Why this book is called Sri Isopanisad? Why? Of course, in this book there are 18 verses, 18 slokas, but that's the first question I would like to put in the front of all of you. Why this book is called Sri Isopanisad? Anybody would like to respond on that? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Kumadaksa Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. I don't know whether it is correct or not, but it is like from Isa Upanishad, something like that. So Isa means refer to the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
So here we'll be describing about about actually how the Lord is, how God is, something like that. Maybe I don't know whether it's true or not.
Yeah, that's also true. Thank you. Most appreciated. Anybody else would like to comment on that? I'm looking for one more answer, probably. Thank you, Mudaksha Prabhu. Anybody else from the audience of the learned Vaishnavas assembled here? Hare Krishna. Or I just call upon somebody. Who is here? Okay. We have Parasuram Prabhu. Parasuram Prabhu. Hare Krishna. If you can hear me, why this book is called Isopanisad? Or somebody else, probably. Okay, Parasuram Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Same answer.
Cannot hear. All right. So yeah, apart from that, what Kumudaksha Prabhu has mentioned, that's correct. That Isha means the Supreme Lord. Yeah. Actually, the name of this Upanishad, Isopanisad, is taken from the first mantra, from the first mantra of the book. Yeah. Isha Avashya Idam Sarvam. That verse. Yeah. So Isha Avashya Idam Sarvam. Everything is belong to the Lord. That's why this book is, the name of the book is taken from that first line of the first mantra of the book. Isha. Isha refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And here we'll find the, vivid description and explanation by Srila Prabhupada, description from the book and Srila Prabhupada's purport about the Ishwara, the Jiva, and then the relationship, Sambandha Tattva Gyan. So basically, yeah, Bhagavad Gita also known as the Upanishad, Gita Upanishad. And yeah, this is also a very basic fundamental book that we must learn as people who are aspiring for spiritual advancement, because if we analyze later toward the end, finally we'll find the prayers that please remember what I have done for you. So we as devotees should be engaged in Krishna's service, and sometimes the devotees also begging to the Lord that please remember what I have done for you. Vayor anelam amritam atedambas mantam sarinam kratoyat kritam smara kratoyam kritat smara. So please remember what I have done for you. Of course, it seems like this is not a very good attitude. Why we have to ask the Lord, please remember what I have done for you. But ultimately, the devotees are eager. The devotees are eager to meet the Lord personally, face to face. And last verse will be talking about the devotees' prayers to eradicate all his sinful reactions in order to engage in Krishna service smoothly. Okay, so Upanishad, interesting. The word Upanishad, Upa means near or close, and Nisidati means to bring. Yeah, to bring. So Upanishad means that which bring us closer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when we try to acquire knowledge, so we have to sit closer to that person who has knowledge. So another meaning also of from the word Upanishad, Upa means same thing, close or near, and Ni means certain, and the word Sad means what is that? To loosen, to destroy, and to attain. So Upanishad means that which loosen our material attachment. Upanishad also means that which destroy the ignorance of our own swarup. That means we are being covered by the three modes of material nature, and we are blinded about who am I, who are we really. And then Upanishad also means that which will help us to attain the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So on that brief introduction, we'll start to read this wonderful book, Sri Isopanisad. We'll see to the introduction of the Sri Isopanisad. Yeah. Okay. In the introduction, Srila Prabhupada establishes the definition of Veda and the need to take guidance from the Vedas. Sri Isopanisad is directly Vedic literature, being part of Shruti. So, yes, interesting here. In the general understanding, Vedas are divided into two parts. One is Shruti and one is Smriti. So Shruti means that something that we heard, Sruta, Srutayamana, that means we hear. So Shruti means that knowledge which is accepted by hearing from the higher authority, bona fide higher authority. So Vedas means Shruti. So sometimes, many times, we find this, that the Vedas refers to the Shruti, or vice versa. Shruti means Veda, because Veda means knowledge that we hear from higher authority. So Shruti. And in other hand, Smriti means something which is recorded, something which is recorded. That means something already happening in the past, and then that is recorded in the form of books. So just like Mahabharata. So this is Smriti. This is Smriti, Mahabharata, or even Ramayana. But interestingly also, if we find the history of Ramayana, how Valmiki got the blessing from Narad Muni, that he could see actually the pastimes before it happens. So he wrote the pastimes. But we have to understand also that this pastime is actually Nitya Lila, it's always happening. So he got the vision that the pastime will be like this, like this. But this pastime is actually happening millions of times, and similarities may be taking place. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. So that's the difference between Shruti and Smriti. So Shruti means the Vedas that we heard, that we hear from higher authority, and Smriti means something which is recorded. Yeah. So this Sri Isopanisad is actually prayers, I would say prayers recited by the personification of the Vedas. We find in the Srimad Bhagavatam that actually each thing actually has its own individuality, like the death personification of death, or sinful personification. So the Vedas also has its personification. So this Upanishad is recited, prayers recited by the personification of the Vedas. Okay. So this introduction actually taken from Srila Prabhupada's lecture. So the title of the lecture is Teaching of the Vedas, delivered as a lecture by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada on October 6, 1969 at Conway Hall, London, England. So Srila Prabhupada starts with this opening. Ladies and gentlemen, today's subject matter is the teaching of the Vedas. What are the Vedas? The Sanskrit verbal root of Veda can be interpreted variously, but the purport is finally one. Veda means knowledge. And interestingly, Srila Prabhupada mentioned any knowledge you accept is Veda. For the teachings of the Vedas are the original knowledge. So what we understand here, even material knowledge is also Vedas, because ultimately everything is rooted from Veda, from the original Veda, including the material knowledge. For example, in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, okay, what is the title of 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita? Anybody still remember? At least from the first batch of this assembly. The title.
Knowledge.
Sorry?
Raj Vidya.
What is the title? Seventh chapter. Yeah, you need to open.
Bhagavad Vignan, that's a transcendental knowledge.
Knowledge
Yeah.
of the absolute.
Yeah, knowledge, the absolute. Thank you.
This open exam.
Yeah, so 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita entitled Knowledge of the Absolute. But what we are discussing in the 7th chapter. So there are also mention about the material aspect of the Lord. Yeah, Bhumirapo Nalovayo Kamanu Buddhir Evacha Ahankara Ityami Bina Prakriti Astada. So Bina Prakriti Astada. Krishna mentioned that these 8 items are my separated material energy. So we may think that when we talk about knowledge of the absolute, that will be completely spiritual. But why in the 7th chapter also talking about the material creation? It is material, right? But complete knowledge means that it covers both, actually, transcendent, spiritual and material. Just like in the 4th chapter also, when Krishna talks about varnashram, yeah, chaturvarna maya sreshta guna karma vibhagasa, that's also material, material swadharma. But anything, as Srila Prabhupada mentioned here, any knowledge that we receive, that's actually Veda, because everything is originated from the original Veda. Everything is originated from Krishna, including material science, including material science. Now we may talk about what about the subject matter that we learn in the school, for example, mundane subject matter we learn in the school. Is that Veda? Well, in one sense, yes, because the very meaning of Veda means the very meaning of Veda is knowledge, whether it is spiritual knowledge or material knowledge. But the problem is that with the modern with the modern way of teaching, the modules of teaching and whatsoever, the theory, the knowledge is always changed. Why always change? Because they're always giving some new interpretation, and people will come up with some new theory of something. We'll talk about Darwin a little bit later. Srila Prabhupada mentioned about Darwin in this introduction lecture. That, yeah, it's always change. Why change? Because we have imperfect senses. But if we receive the knowledge from the original Vedas, from the Puranas, for example, or Upanishad, whatever, which is given by the higher authority, that knowledge is perfect, including material knowledge. For example, in the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we find the description, the Kapila Siksha, he is describing of the situation of the embryo inside the womb, right from the beginning till the baby is born. It is very detailed, described by Kapila Muni, and that's material science. Yeah, how from the 1st month, 2nd month, 7th month, and so on, the baby turned and then pushed by air, as if by force he has to leave. Yeah, and that's already written in the Srimad Bhagavatam. That means this knowledge is eternal. This material science is eternal. But doctor, I mean, I'm not trying to offend any doctor, but the modern scientists or doctor, they try to do some research and wasting so much time, and their conclusion may be wrong because material senses are imperfect. So Veda means knowledge, whether it is material or spiritual. As Srila Prabhupada mentioned here, any knowledge you accept is Veda. So Srila Prabhupada continue by mentioning the conditioned soul has 4 kinds of defect. We have heard this many times. I'll just check it out here. So the first one is that to commit mistakes, and then to be illusion, cheating propensity, senses are imperfect. So actually these 4 things are very much related to one another. We'll discuss this in the next few minutes when we touch Srila Prabhupada giving the example of Darwin. That's interesting. Okay, Prabhupada continued. The Vedas are not compilation of human knowledge. Vedic knowledge comes from the spiritual world, from Lord Krishna. Another name of the Veda is Shruti, as we discussed earlier. Shruti refers to that knowledge which is acquired by hearing. It is not experimental knowledge. Shruti is considered to be like a mother. So Srila Prabhupada further elaborate that just like a child, if a child wants to know who is his father, so he has to approach his mother. And only his mother can ascertain who is the fathers of this child. Yeah, because the mother who's having relationship with the father. So similarly, real knowledge, perfect knowledge, can be obtained in the Vedas by hearing from higher authority, Shruti, Srutayamanam, by the process of hearing from the bona fide sources. And yeah, what was that I mentioned? We'll have a look more into this. Yeah, the Vedas are not compilation of human knowledge. So Vedas Vedas basically contains of dharma. Yeah, dharma. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam navai vidurisayuna pidevahana siddha mukhya ashura manusya tonu vidyadara charanadaya. So this knowledge, this science can be only ascertained by Bhagavan, Sri Krishna. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat, directly ascertained by Krishna. What is dharma? Yeah, it is not that something created by the sages in the even higher planetary system, even up to Tapoloka. Those sages, those souls, actually, they are very, very great. They are austere, but still they cannot ascertain what is dharma. So it is only ascertained directly by the Supreme Lord. Putonu Vidyadara Charanadaya. Also mentioned about Vidyadara, Charana, and Manusya, the human. We cannot ascertain what is real knowledge. So the Vedas is actually compiled by Lord Krishna himself. What is that? In the Srimad Bhagavatam mentioned? Dharma projita kaita vatra paramo nirmasaranam Vedyam vastam matra vastu sivadam tapatrayon mulanam. So that Veda is compiled by the incarnation of Lord Krishna, Srila Vyasadeva. And there are three kinds of pramana. Yeah, there are three kinds of pramana Srila Prabhupada mentioned in his lecture. First one is that pratyaksha, anumana, and sabda. So we'll discuss among the three pramanas. Actually, sabda is most reliable. So the first one, pratyaksha. Pratyaksha means direct evidence or knowledge gathered by our senses. So not so reliable due to imperfect senses. So pratyaksha, where we find this word, pratyakshawa gamam dharmyam, pratyakshawa gamam dharmyam susukam kartumaya. So pratyaksha means we experience. So because our senses are imperfect, so that knowledge that we get through the material senses is also imperfect. So Prabhupada gave the example of sun. Yeah, when we see the sun, it's look like small, just like a ball, maybe like basketball or volleyball, football, or whatever. It looks small. So our senses is imperfect, are imperfect. Our senses are imperfect. So also our perception is also imperfect. Of course, we as an adult, we have tasted the chair of the school. That's what we say. We have tasted the chair of the school. We get some information that the measurement of the sun is this big, and in the Vedas also mentioned the size of the sun. I don't know exactly how much it is, but the sun is really big. The sun is really, really big. And yeah, but for a small child, 2 or 3 years old child, so he or she may think that the sun is as big as a football or basketball. Yeah, just like we see in the example of Hanuman, for example. When he was a small baby, he was hungry, woke up early in the morning, and then he saw the sun rising. And what Hanuman sees, he sees like a very ripened, juicy fruit, and he started flying toward the sun. He wanted to eat the sun. So yeah, pratyaksha. We cannot rely on this because our senses are imperfect, so also our perception will be imperfect. For sure, guaranteed, 108%. Yeah. And then anumana. Anumana means theory, hypothesis, logical reasoning. So this is simply a theory and still also imperfect. So Srila Prabhupada here giving the example of Darwin's theory that human comes from monkey. Humans come from monkey. So it just like, in my opinion, so like this kind of anumana means like you are giving your opinion, and your opinion definitely imperfect, because again, your mind is imperfect, your senses are imperfect. Like, for example, here Darwin, he's just speculating, because there are some similarities between monkeys and human. So he conclude that human's ancestor is actually a monkey. But if we logically think again, if it is true that monkey is the ancestor of the human, so by this process of evolution, why still up to nowadays, up to this date, there are still a lot of monkeys? Why those monkeys not transform into human? That's another question that if you put in the front of Darwin, he might be baffled. Oh yeah, no answer for that. So this also, this types of praman is not reliable, because it's just simply theory. And this related to the four defects that we have as human being. 1 second. Yeah, four defects that we have. For example, like Darwin, he gives the theory of evolution. So because his senses are imperfect, so he commits mistake, right? First, because of the imperfect senses, one will commit mistake. And then because you commit mistake, what's the next thing that you do is there is a cheating propensity. So now you are spreading the news, spreading the words that yes, human comes from monkey. So first imperfect senses, and then mistake, and then you spread the news. This is fake news. That means cheating. And then people will believe. Some people will believe with that theory, and then people will get illusion. Will put into illusion. People will believe. Oh yeah, actually, yeah, he's right. Okay. So that's how it is related. These four defects of human. Similarly, also, I would like to take another easy example. For example, like cooking. For example, I'm cooking. Then, because my senses are imperfect, sometimes I cook improperly. So I put too much salt. And then, because my sense is imperfect, I put too much salt. That means I'm committing some mistake. And when I serve the food to other person will ask, oh, this is too much salt. Who's cooking? So now, in order to defend myself, I will tell, oh, such and such person cooked this dish. It is not me. So cheating is taking place. So like this. Therefore, this kind of praman cannot be, it is not reliable. Yeah. And then the last one, sabda praman. Sabda Brahman or Sabda. Knowledge received from the authoritative sources. That is perfect. Yeah, because this knowledge comes from, beyond the material realm. So whoever situated in the material world will be having these four kind of defects. These four defects. Yeah? But those who are transcending the modes of the material world, the modes of material nature, they are coming from outside of this material realm. Certainly they have the complete knowledge, perfect knowledge. And that knowledge first imparted to the heart of the first being created in the material world, Brahma. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. So Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. Lord Krishna imparted the Vedic knowledge into the heart of Lord Brahma before anybody else in the material world. So Brahma is the first being who received this knowledge. You see, this knowledge comes from Krishna, and Krishna is not belong to this material world. although Krishna is all pervasive, all pervading, he enters into his own creation, but he is not belong to this material world. Maya tatamidam sarvam jagat avyaktamurti nama stani sarva bhutani na chaham teshu avastitaha. So Krishna says that Maya tatamidam sarvam, everything is in me, but I'm not in this material world. So Krishna comes from the spiritual world, give the knowledge to Brahma, and then now Brahma, as the, would say, the father, the second father of all beings, because he is the person who's doing the Visarga, the secondary creation. So we see also Lord Brahma as our father. So as Pitamaha, exactly. He is our grandfather. And Krishna is called Prapitamaha, great grandfather. So he is the source of Lord Brahma, and Brahma is the source of course, he is just doing his duty. But still, in this way, we can see actually Lord Brahma is accepting the knowledge, transcendental knowledge from the Supreme Lord. So when we talk about transcendental knowledge, it is not about the Ishwara, about the Jiva. So Prakriti also, our Sambandha also with the material nature, is actually a transcendental knowledge, because after all, everything can be used in the service of the Lord. So depending on our attitude, we should be able to see actually everything is connected to Krishna, Nibbandha Krishna Sambandhi. And that's the expertise of the devotees, will be always able to connect everything in Krishna service. So yeah, among these three kinds of pramana, so Sabda Brahman is the one which is reliable. And actually the Vedic science is what you call this, axiomatic. Axiomatic means something which is doesn't need any proof. Doesn't need any proof, because it's true. It's already proven. It's already experimented by the topmost person. Rather, in the material world, so we try to find whether, like I heard a few years ago a news mentioning that finally a doctor realized that soul exists when he failed to save his patient, despite of any modern gadget, modern technology to save the patient, still the patient died. So there is only one conclusion, that yes, the soul is missing. That's why it's actually a very easy thing to understand. Yeah, very easy thing to understand that the soul exists. Why, when people die, we say that he has left for the heavenly abode, for example, like that. Yeah, he has left for the heavenly abode. Who left? The body is still there. The ear is there. The eyes are there. The ears are there. The hands are there. Legs are there. The complete body are there. The complete body is there. But he is missing. He has left. And who is he? So he's the spirit. He's the spirit soul. It's easy to understand, actually. And Srila Prabhupada continued, Vedic knowledge is called Sabda Praman. Another name is Shruti. Shruti means that this knowledge has to be received simply by oral perception. The Vedas instruct that in order to understand transcendental knowledge, we have to hear from the authority. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we are accepting knowledge from the highest authority, Krishna. Krishna is accepted as the highest authority by all class of men. Okay, where this statement mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, where this statement mentioned that Krishna is the topmost authority. Who has mentioned that? Krishna is the topmost authority. Where we find this? Where is the Praman?
Asilo Devalo Vyasa. Asilo Devalo Vyasa and Narad. Arjuna says this.
Yeah, thank you. So in that verse, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram Paramam Bhavam, Purusham Saswatam Divyam Adi Daivam Ajam, Ahustvam Risaya Sarve. You see, Ahustvam Rishaya Sarve. All the great sages have confirmed that you are the topmost authority. Asita Devala Vyasa Swayam Eva Bravisime. So it is not only Arjuna mentioning out of his own sentiment, probably we can say like that, but it is confirmed by all the great sages. Ahus Tvam Rishaya Sarve. So Rishaya Sarve, all the great sages confirm that Krishna is the topmost authority. He is the greatest personality. Yeah. So we accept whatever Krishna says because he is the topmost authority. Whatever Krishna says, we accept. This is Krishna consciousness. That saves much time. If you accept the right authority or source of knowledge, then you save much time. You save much time. And Prabhupada further talk about there are two systems of knowledge in the material world. There are two systems of acquiring knowledge. Two systems of knowledge. The first one is called Aroha Panta, or deductive or ascending. The second one is that Avaroha Panta, deductive or descending. So Aroha Panta means knowledge derived through imperfect senses, search or experiment. Prabhupada gave the example just like a person. He's told that man is mortal. That means everybody gonna die. But in order to prove this, he foolishly, examining each individuality to find out whether it is true man is mortal or not. Man is immortal or mortal. So he is wasting so much time. Although he keeps saying that everybody is dying, but he still have the conviction that maybe there is a person, there is a man in this material, in this earth that will not die. So this is called the Aroha Panta. Yeah. So the ascending, the inductive process, doing some experiments. What will we get by our, imperfect material senses? What kind of experiments? That's why the scientists always having some change in their conclusion of something, because they keep doing experiments, and every time they are doing it, they find something new. Oh yeah, something new. So it's just sama eva hikeva. And then avaroha panta means knowledge acquired by hearing from bona fide sources or Supreme Lord. Just like a boy is told that, yes, man gonna die. Nobody is immortal here. Everybody will die. So your grandfather died, your father died. So yeah, man will die. Just accept that fact and finish. You don't have to do some experiments to prove that man is immortal or mortal. So just accept. This is the easy process, actually. Perfect our life. Accept knowledge from higher authority. Therefore, the Vedic injunction is that one must approach the word compulsory is used, a bona fide spiritual master, a guru. And what is the qualification of a spiritual master? Is one who has rightly heard the Vedic message from the right source. That's first qualification. And second is that he must practically be firmly established in Brahman. These are the two qualities he must have, otherwise he is not bona fide. So Guru being the direct expansion of the Parama Atma, the direct manifestation of the Chaitya Guru is the living Guru. Yeah. So he's in one sense non-different from Krishna because he's the representative of Krishna. And how to see whether he's bona fide Guru or not? Yeah, here it is. First, he should get the knowledge from the higher bona fide authority. Secondly, is that he should be firmly established in Brahman. Firmly established in Brahman means He is a fixed devotee of the Lord. So Brahman here refers to the Supreme Brahman, Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna. And now we come to the invocation. So that's the end of the introduction. Okay. The invocation describes the objective of the book, the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, by repeated recognition of these various types of completeness. Sri Isopanisad establishes the supreme position and power of the personality of Godhead. So in this invocation, actually, we will be discussing about the Ishvara, Jiva, and the relationship, what the Jiva is supposed to do. So this is a very famous verse that all of us should memorize. Om Purnam Ada Purnam Idam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate. Translation: the personality of Godhead is perfect. Yeah, Purnam. Purnam means perfect and complete. And because he is completely perfect, all emanation from him, such as this phenomenal world, so phenomenal means material world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself, because he is the complete whole. Even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance. So the understanding here is that Krishna is complete and his energy is also complete, although there are so many units. So first of all, Krishna is complete, and whatever emanates from him is also complete. For example, this material world, material creation, is complete. Complete in what sense? Complete in itself, that we can sustain within this material universe. We don't have to search out something that we so-called we need to sustain ourselves. No, everything is created by Krishna, and Krishna already planned in such a way in his creation that this creation is complete in itself, perfect in itself to sustain. So there are so many complete units emanate from Krishna's body through his energy. Okay, but although there are so many unlimited numbers of complete unit emanates from his body, his energy remain complete. His energy remain complete. Okay, this is not something that bewildering. No, it's easy to understand. Because the absolute Krishna is the absolute. So in the spiritual platform, in the absolute platform, 1 + 1 is 1, 1 - 1 is 1. So when there are so many complete units comes out from his body, his complete body, his energy will remain complete. He will not feel exhausted. If we see in the material platform, for example, phone or laptop or whatever, our energy, when we are using phone, so the battery will get discharged. So similarly, our body also. When we work hard, our body will become exhausted. But Krishna is not like that. He's completely complete in himself, completely, never decrease. His power never decrease. He is like the ocean. One time Srila Prabhupada explained like that, giving the analogy like the ocean. So the ocean, when the water of the ocean being evaporated to the sky, the cycles of hydrology, so the sea water will be evaporated to the sky, but yet the sea will remain in its position. The ocean remain in its position. It doesn't shrink down. And then, despite of so many thousands of rivers flowing into the sea, so the sea remain like that. Apurjamana machala pratistam samudram apa pravisanti yadva. So that's Krishna. He is complete, although there are so many complete units emanates from himself, yet he remained complete. Srila Prabhupada's purport, the complete whole or the supreme absolute truth is the complete personality of Godhead, realization of impersonal Brahman or of Paramatma or the super soul is incomplete realization of the absolute complete. The supreme personality of Godhead is Satchit Ananda Vigraha. So Srila Prabhupada is touching the point here that the Brahman realization
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Did we lost Prabhuji?
Yeah, he is
Seems
reconnected.
like electricity.
Hare Krishna. Just give me a few seconds. There's some technical problem with me here. Okay, I'm back. Okay, where were we? Yeah, Srila Prabhupada is explaining about the incomplete realization of the Gyanis and the Yogis. So generally the Gyanis, their conclusion is about Brahman realization. The topmost realization that they can get is Brahman realization, about the Brahma Jyoti conclusion of life. And the Jnani is about the Paramatma form of the Lord. And that's also considered as incomplete, as Srila Prabhupada explained in his purport. So for those who are, okay, I just share the screen here. So realizing Krishna in three features. Yeah, Vadantitas Tattvavitas Tattvam Yajnanamadvayam Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavan iti sabdete. So Brahman realization. Realization of impersonal Brahman is realization of his Sat feature or his aspect of eternity or bodily effulgence. So complete realization of Krishna is Satchit Ananda Vigraha, right? Satchit Ananda Vigraha. So for those who are Mayavadis, so they just realize this partially, only the Sat aspect, or that yes, God is eternal, but yeah, he doesn't have form, but he's eternal because we also eternal. So that's it, their knowledge finished. And then Paramatma realization is realization of his Sat and Chit features, his aspect of eternity and knowledge or super soul. Yeah, because Krishna resides in everybody's heart. So definitely he's the omniscient. He knows what is going on in every body, in each individuality, what are the material, the living entities desire. Yeah, because he resides in everybody's heart as Paramatma. So still this realization is incomplete because only Sat and Chit. So yes, the Paramatma is eternal and he is all-knowing. Yeah, he's omniscient. And then the Bhagavan, last one, is realization of the personality. Yeah, Satchit, Ananda, and Vigraha. Vigraha means the form. Archa Vigraha, the deity form. So Vigraha means the personality. Realization of the personality of Godhead is realization of all transcendental features, Satchit, Ananda. Bliss. When one realizes the Supreme Person, he realizes these aspects of the Absolute Truth in their completeness. Vigraha means form. Thus, the complete whole is not formless. So Ananda means bliss. Yeah, Ananda means bliss. When we have some relationship with someone, we can see that person face to face. We can interact. We can have some interaction. We can talk. We can communicate. We can touch each other. There is some activity. So in that way, actually, we can get the complete happiness. Complete happiness. Okay, the Mayavadi, they get some kind of happiness, but this kind of happiness is just on the state of being peaceful. On the state of being peaceful. Yeah. Srila Prabhupada continued, the complete whole, the personality of Godhead has immense potencies, all of which are all complete as he is. Thus, this phenomenal world is of Krishna. Thus, this phenomenal world is also complete in itself. The universe functions on its own time scale, which is fixed by the energy of the complete whole. And when that schedule is completed, this temporary manifestation will be annihilated by the complete arrangement of the complete whole. You see, I have talked this earlier, that just like this material world is complete in the sense of, because first of all, the material world is emanating from the complete whole, which is Krishna. Krishna is the complete whole. So the material world comes from Krishna's body, Karandakasa Vishnu. So this universe is functioning complete in itself, sustaining itself, and when the time is complete, it will be get annihilated. So that's the understanding. It's complete in itself. Because we do not know that there is a complete arrangement in nature for our maintenance, we make effort to utilize the resources of nature to create a so-called complete life of sense enjoyment. Actually, everybody already destined according to one's own karma. Karmana daivane trena jantur deho papataye striya pravistamudara pumsurita kanasraya. So according to his own karma and the supervision of the Lord. So his maintenance is already destined. But as Srila Prabhupada mentioned here, because we don't know that everything is already completely arranged by the Supreme Lord, then we make extra effort to excavate, I can say to excavate more, to get more, that more than what we need. This is called pratyahara, over and ever. That's why the first mantra will start with Magridakashashvidanam, that we should not be greedy. Everything is already allotted by the Supreme Lord according to our own, what do you call this in English? How much we get is already destined. That's the point that I want to see. Because the living entity cannot enjoy the life of the senses without being dovetailed with the complete whole, the misleading life of sense enjoyment is illusion. The hands of a body is a complete unit only as long as it is attached to the complete body. Yeah. So we talk about the Iswara, Krishna, that he is complete. And then we talk about Jiva. The Jiva is also complete. Why complete? Yes, it is complete. Satchit Ananda Vigraha. Same thing, because we come from Krishna. Krishna says that Bijamam Sarva Bhutanam. Krishna is the father of all living entities. Aham Bija Pradapita. He is the seed-giving father of all living entities. So just like my father, having the same feature as myself, so because he is complete, so I also complete, right? Srila Prabhupada mentioned here, just like, because we are part of Krishna, part of the complete whole, just like this hand is part of the complete body. So this hand will be considered as complete as long as this hand, as long as my hands attached with the body, with this body. As soon as this hand get cut off, that's it. It becomes useless. It becomes incomplete. But in the sense of Krishna's position, when the jiva disconnected with Krishna, so he will remain complete. But the example that given by me just a few seconds ago, if this body separated from this hand, so this body will become incomplete. So actually, sometimes we cannot make perfect analogy. Sometimes we cannot make perfect analogy because to analyze Krishna's potency is not possible. Okay. The completeness of human life can be realized only when one engages in the service of the complete whole. All services in this world, whether social, political, communal, international, or even interplanetary, will remain incomplete until they are dovetailed with a complete whole. When everything is dovetailed with complete whole, the attached parts and parcels also become complete in themselves. So in this invocation prayers, we discuss about the greatness of Lord Krishna, that he is complete, although there are unlimited complete units emanate from his body, yet he remained complete. So we are talking also about, because the jiva is emanating from the Supreme Lord. The jiva is part of the Supreme Lord. So the jiva also complete. But when the jiva disconnecting himself from the Supreme Lord, in that position, in that awkward position, he becomes incomplete in every aspect, incomplete in happiness that he pursues in the material world. That's the main thing. Everybody's looking for happiness. But as long as we are disconnected with Krishna, we cannot really completely happy. That's why complete happiness can be derived when we dovetail ourselves with the Supreme Lord. So that's the end of today's presentation. Just to conclude our session, that in the beginning we discussed about the introduction. Srila Prabhupada mentioned about the 4 defects that we have as human beings, and then there are 3 types of pramans, and then 2 ways of acquiring knowledge in the material world, and how among these ways, different ways to acquire knowledge, Sabda Praman is the most authentic one because it comes directly from Krishna. Yeah. Any other Pramans like the Anumana and Pratyaksha considered to be incomplete because our senses are incomplete. Using the imperfect senses, the conclusion, the Pratyaksha. Pratyaksha means also perception. Yeah. Perception. Our perception will always incomplete. Sometimes in the association of the devotees also, sometimes we may speculate of what other devotees think of me. Normally he smile, but today he doesn't smile at me. Then we have, negative perception that, oh, maybe something wrong with this devotee, or he's in Maya, why he's not smiling at me today. So because of our imperfect senses, we just speculate everything. So yeah, that's about the introduction and the invocation, already explained in detail. So whether any questions or comment, we have quite if there is no question, I would like to take your permission to leave because I'm not needed anymore.
Hare Krishna.
Vishwambar Prabhu. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Is your network or my network? I'm not able to hear you now for last 1 minute.
Try again, Parasuram Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me, Prabhu?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Prabhu, please go ahead.
Prabhu, like you were saying that Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagwan. So, you're mentioning that only Sat and Chit feature. Right, Prabhu? Can you hear me, Prabhu? Hare Krishna.
Parasuram Prabhu. Yes, Hare Krishna, Parasuram Prabhu.
Prabhu.
Please say again, Prabhu, because we lost your voice.
Yes, Prabhu. My question was like, you mentioned that Paramatma has Sat and Chit feature only.
Paramatma has,
Sat and Chit feature only.
yeah.
But like we have heard that Paramatma is a 400 Vishnu form and Pashyanti Yoginam. Yogina, actually yogis, they see the in meditation, they see the form of Paramatma in their heart, and they derive a lot of happiness on seeing that form in the heart.
Mm-hmm.
So how Anand feature is lacking in Paramatma? My question.
Yeah. Well, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that, first of all. It is not me. So the understanding is that and what about the Ananda aspect? Okay, the Ananda aspect is there realization as in the Bhagavan realization. Why? In the sense of, yes, the yogis, they can see Krishna in the four-handed form of Vishnu as Paramatma, but they cannot really have some loving exchange, loving relationship. So actually happiness derived when there is loving exchange, loving relationship. There is some service, there is a servant, there is a person to be served, and there is service. Yeah, there is bhakta, there is Bhagavan, and there is bhakti. So yes, even the person who just reached the Brahman realization, the what is that, Brahmajyoti realization, they get some happiness, but their happiness is incomplete compared to the happiness derived by the devotees. That's the understanding. So for the yogis who have completely realized the Supreme Lord in the form of Paramatma, Vishnu form of the Lord, four-handed form of the Lord, they may see in their perfect stage, they may see the Lord in their heart as four-handed form of the Lord. They may derive happiness, but that complete happiness is not there because there is no interaction, active interaction. Because bhakti means, what is that? Rishikena Rishikesa Sevanam Bhaktir Uchyate. Yeah, Rishikena Sevanam Bhaktir Uchyate. Bhakti means when we engage our senses, ourselves in the service of the Lord. So engaging in the service means there is some interaction, there is some feedback, there is some exchange. So in that way, we can derive the topmost happiness. Yes, they get some happiness, but not complete. Yeah, but not purnam.
So Prabhu, as I understand the limitation which you mentioned, like one feature has only Sat, one feature has Sat Chit, another feature has Sat Chit Anand. It is limitation for us to understand, but there is no limitation in God himself, in the three features. Is it like that?
Yes, absolutely. There is no limitation in God, but our perception is limited to the degree of our realization. So Krishna will reveal, will give us perception, will give us happiness to the degree of our surrendering, right? For example, like the Mayavadis, they just want to be absorbed in Krishna, but they don't want to be engaged in Krishna service. Same thing also like the demons, many demons, they get the impersonal liberation, like Kamsa, for example, or Sisupal, for example. These demons are completely absorbed in Krishna, but they don't want to be engaged in Krishna service. So those who want to be absorbed in Krishna and doesn't want to be engaged in Krishna service, so they go to the Brahmajyoti, because in Brahmajyoti you get it. You absorb in Krishna, but you remain passive. So that much Krishna will reciprocate. So yes, absolutely, there is no limitation in God. God is unlimited. We cannot measure his potency. So that understanding is only for from our end, for our end. So to the degree of our surrendering, that much Krishna will reveal himself and reciprocate accordingly with us. So to that degree also we can get some degree of happiness. But complete happiness, ananda, can be derived when there is engagement, service engagement of the jivas to the Supreme Lord. Hare Krishna. Parashuram Prabhu.
Prabhu, I have one more question, Prabhu. Can I ask?
Yeah. Yes, please. If no other devotee is asking question, you may continue. Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Prabhu, this Brahman, it is mentioned that it is effulgence from the body of Lord. So I want to understand, like the example of sun is given, sunlight. So sunlight, it is always coming out from sun. But it being material object, it is also absorbed by earth and different things. And we hear that energy is conserved, it transforms into other forms and all. So I want to understand this Brahman, when it is coming out, like is it continuously coming out from the Lord's body? And if it is continuously coming out, till where it is going, and how to understand those things?
Prabhu, can you repeat again once more? Sorry.
Yeah, we say that the effulgence is coming out from Krishna, and that effulgence is Brahman.
So the example is given just like the sun, and then
yes. So my
Yeah,
question is, like sun, of course, sun and sunlight is material. We see that sunlight is continuously coming from sun, and they say that sun also has a life, after which the sunlight will be exhausted, and this energy is also absorbed by the universe. So my question is, like, Brahman cannot be in the same platform, right? So Brahman, is it continuously
no.
coming from the Lord? It is always created from the body of the Lord, and it is, if it is being created again and again, does it go back to the body of Lord, or how it happens? Any information is there?
Okay, I never expect this kind of questions. Well, regarding that, I never heard anything about that, but yeah, because Brahman is emanated from the Lord, and ultimately everything is Krishna's energy. So where that Brahman effulgence will go, definitely it will go back to Krishna again. It will go back to Krishna again. So yeah, I don't want to speculate on this point. Yeah, it's a bit tricky question for me. Hare Krishna.
For me too, Prabhu.
Maybe other devotees would like to comment on that. Yeah, the sunlight is actually not reducing, never exhausted, because the sun is always emanating the light. It's just our material vision, our eyes. When the sun is setting, we are thinking that the sun is exhausting, but actually the sun appear in some other parts of the earth, of the universe. So it's always emanating some light, and yeah, the sunlight is absorbed by the universe. But then what? What to speak of the Supreme Lord's effulgence? Even to understand how much power of the sun has, we cannot comprehend with our material mind. And Krishna also like that. He's completely transcendental. His potency unlimited. Where that energy will go, it will go back to him, because ultimately everything is within Krishna. Yeah. Yomam pashyati sarvatra sarvam chamayi pashyati. So everything is in Krishna, and Krishna is in everything. Hare Krishna. Okay, Prabhu. Were there any other questions?
Prabhu, I have one question. Like Prabhupada says that Krishna is the authority and everything coming from him is perfect.
Mm.
But after Krishna, like, someone is writing Bhagavad Gita and someone is translating Bhagavad Gita. So even those defects and like the imperfections, as eating propensity, those defects may appear even in devotees, right, Prabhu?
Right.
Mistakes.
Yes.
So then how is Sabda Praman like, perfect? Because we have heard also like sometime when what was it? Govind Acharya, he tried to correct this Yoga Kshema Mahamiham Karamiham. I think you yourself had given this example.
Mm.
So these defects will appear even in the authorities, or how to understand this, Prabhu? Like
This
even Prabhupada said that
Mm.
English and other language defects, if it is there, then he told his disciples to correct it.
Mm.
So how to understand that Sabda Praman is absolute? Because we accept Krishna is absolute, but again, like Brahma is hearing from Krishna, and he is also subjected to defects.
Mm-hmm.
And then he is giving knowledge to Narada, and the disciplinic succession is there.
Yeah.
And we also hear that disciplinic succession also get broken. Krishna had to speak again because disciplinic succession was broken.
Yeah.
So how to understand that Sabda Brahman is absolute, or it is the...
Got your point. Thank you. So now the problem is that not with the Sabda Brahman, whether it is authentic or not. The problem is that with the transmitter, So if
Right.
we just remain faithful to the Sabda Brahman, that means that's why the process of knowledge should be descending process. Yeah, you just accept as it is and pass it as it is. Then the Sabda Brahman will remain authentic. So now the problem is that whether the Sabda Brahman is authentic or bona fide or not, it is. But sometimes the problem comes with the transmitter. That's why Srila Prabhupada mentioned here that there are two qualifications of the bona fide spiritual master. One is that he have heard from the higher authority, bona fide authority. And secondly is that he's completely firm in Brahman realization. That means he's remained faithful and not deviated. Prabhupada many times giving the example just like a postman. So the perfection of the postman is that when he's able to deliver the parcel to the person that whom this parcel meant to be. The postman may be having some some issues in his life, this and that, but his perfection as a postman is that to deliver the parcel as it is to the person whom it meant to be, without extracting or without adding anything. So similarly also like this, the Sabda Brahman is perfect. The problem is not with the Sabda Brahman, but sometimes the problem comes with the transmitter. When the person who received this knowledge try to speculate something out of his mind, then the knowledge becomes adulterated by some ulterior motive. But when the person is remain faithful, just giving the same instruction as what we have heard from higher authority, then there's no problem. So the problem is not with the Sabda Brahman, whether it is authentic or not. It is always authentic. But when the disciplic association get broken and Krishna has to come again and speak the same thing again, because the person in the disciplic succession is not faithful. He's saying something else. from what he had heard. He started to speculate. That's how the disciplic association get broken.
Prabhu, we are also told to not have blind faith. Like we tell to Christian Muslims that no, you are not trying to understand it properly, right? So they also, like, they have their own teachers, and then they keep on practicing. Every Bakri they will eat beef and all those things. They will try to stick to the thing, and they will pass it on without understanding it, the basic meaning behind it. So we are,
Right.
even Prabhupada says, you have to scrutinizingly study my
Yes.
books,
Yeah.
and you have to ask questions. And so this thing of just accepting and passing on, like a faithful transmitter, it is not actually, if you see in practical, everyone is asked, made to question it and understand it properly.
Correct. So thank you. My response in that regard is that actually everything spoken by Krishna is, I would say, even if you try to make some experiments, it will come to an end that yes, Krishna is correct. Anything that he has spoken. But sometimes we may find some description like hellish planet, okay, for example, like that. But regarding for example, the Hinosmin Yatade here verse about the reincarnation, that's for us, it makes sense, because the body keeps changing, from the Kumaram, Yawanam, and then Jara, from boyhood to youth to old age. And ultimately, you have to change your body. For me, that makes sense, okay? You may argue that why you don't remember your past life. Well, you don't even remember when you are inside the womb of your mother, okay? But up to that level, when we do some experiments, it makes sense. And also, like life comes from matter, it makes sense also. Srila Prabhupada gave the example. If you remember, in our first unit, no, in the second unit, in the chapter 7 Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada once he mentioned there that in one of his lecture he mentioned that why we have to give credit to Krishna all the time. Why we have to give credit to Krishna all the time, that he has knowledge, we also have knowledge. Why we have to give credit to God all the time? He creates something, we also create something. But Srila Prabhupada's response that yes, when God creates two human beings, male and female, so from these two human beings, we'll be able to produce millions of another human beings. But when we create something like two cars, can you create male and female cars? And from these two cars, they may produce some other cars? No, they cannot. So that means Krishna's the the evidence that life comes from life is true. So from that simple experimental analysis, we can accept that. But when we find the description about the higher planetary system, health, this and that, we may doubt, right? Even recently, I heard one lecture of His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj mentioning that some of Srila Prabhupada's disciple, when he read the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the description of hellish planet, so they just left, they left the movement. Some of them left the movement because it's too much for them, whether it is true or not, or they read the description of the planetary system. Yeah, but in one of his purport, I think in the 3rd canto, chapter number 2, one of his purports, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that he gave an analogy just like a person who, a liver diseased person, a liver diseased person should not taste milk, But how to cure this diseased person, liver diseased person, is by giving him cow urine. Srila Prabhupada mentioned in this purport, by giving him cow urine. He should never taste any milk, otherwise he will get problem. So similarly, when you talk about milk to this person, because he should not taste any milk, and maybe he never tastes any milk in his life, so he may not believe it. So when Srila Prabhupada mentioned that when there is a description of milk ocean, will you believe that there is milk ocean outside there? You cannot experience this, because in this material world you find only salt ocean. That's it. You don't have any experience with milk ocean. And now if you try to experience this, you will fail. Definitely you will fail. Then what about blind faith? Well, it is not really blind faith, because when we believe that there is milk ocean, yeah, we have to take it as it is, because it is spoken by Krishna, the topmost authority, and you have to accept Krishna. Because not out of sentiment, but many great personalities have mentioned that, and it is recorded, in the history. Yeah. And yeah, will you believe that there is a milk ocean outside there? Because we have only the experience with salt ocean. That's it. So yeah, that's my response regarding blind faith. Up to some extent, we can experiment. We can do some experiments, and actually, whatever Krishna says, it's true. Up to some degree, depending on how much the ability of our senses. What to speak of the milk ocean outside there, outside this earth. We cannot even see the next city, for example, because our vision is limited. You cannot see what is going on in America by these direct eyes. Okay, if you have some camera, somebody is doing live in America, you can see. But using this direct, the perception of this eye, you cannot, because our senses are imperfect. So you cannot see what is going on outside there in the heavenly planet, the description of Indra Loka, this, that, and Loka, Naga Loka, down planetary system. So, Hare Krishna.
So I will just add one thing. I think you mentioned about the postmaster thing. I had the same question. So I think Jeev Goswami says also, the Prabhupada is giving example of postmaster. He's saying that postmaster, he may be poor, right? And he's carrying the money order. He knows that this is carrying money order, but still he will deliver, because he is tied to an organization and he has to do. So he says two important qualifications. One is that he need to be a bona fide. He need to be eligible. Bona fide spiritual master, that mentioned in the Nectar of past message. Yeah, so that's why I want to say, like, Prabhupada, that's why always Prabhupada never uses spiritual master, bona fide spiritual master, and he references that the connection now. Bona fide spiritual masters means one who qualify what is mentioned in the Nectar of Instruction, the college of a guru. Is my voice is audible, bro? Or is network issue? I don't know. Can you hear?
Your voice is breaking.
I think it's my network issue then.
Yeah, I think so. Either your network or my network, because I have rain and thunder here.
I can hear other devotees, but for yours, sometimes it's a network issue, Prabhu.
Okay,
my point was saying is, the Prabhupada says the postmaster, he might be a poor, and he is carrying a money order, and he know that he is carrying the money, but he will still deliver to the customer, even he is poor, because he is eligible candidate. He is qualified to be a postmaster, right? Similarly, the spiritual master who is in this parampara system, trying to this bona fide parampara system, that need to be a bona fide spiritual master. And it says in the Nectar of Instruction, the qualification of spiritual master, that one who control his senses.
Okay.
Nectar of Instruction. Yeah, many times people ask this whenever we give.
Oh, Krishna. Okay. I think I'm facing some.
Become a bona fide source.
Yeah, I'm facing some internet issues here. I can't hear what Viswambar Prabhu mentioned in the last part, but yeah, I got your point that the qualification of a bona fide spiritual master is that he will strictly deliver the same message as what he have heard. Yeah, and he control all the 6 urges. Okay, thank you very much, Viswambar Prabhu and all the devotees. Yeah, appreciate all your time, and we'll see you again in the next class. I'll stop here now, and also I don't get good connection now, so yeah,
Yes,
hopefully in
Prabhu.
the next, yeah, hopefully in the
Hare
next
Krishna.
class, yeah, we'll get better connection. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavim. Hare Krishna.